Good afternoon, guys. Back here again in the gym, and today we're going to talk about marshmallows. Yes, seriously, I don't actually have marshmallows with me. Now, the reason we're talking about marshmallows is to do with a particularly famous experiment to do with people being able to hold off gratification until later. There was an experiment done, I think it was in the 70s in America, where they got a number of children in different demographics and put them alone in a room. They left one marshmallow on the plate and they said to them, if you can wait 15 minutes, we will give you a second marshmallow, or you can eat this marshmallow now. And it was an interesting experiment that actually spanned several decades, because they found by following the people who ate the marshmallow first were generally people who prioritized gratification at an earlier stage, were less likely to push ahead and to save and so on and so forth. The people who waited for the second marshmallow were far likely to outperform their peers. They were far likely to go farther and save more and be a lot better off financially. It might seem like a fairly innocuous little thing to test, but it did lay down a certain psychological trait. And there's a big question about, is this nature or nurture? Are you this way or can you train it? Well, there's a lot of these things we believe strongly you can train them, okay? Often you'll find it's very difficult to see that particular link to what you're doing now, and then all of a sudden a year later you might have had a total shift in the way you think because of the things you're doing, because of the habits you're doing, and you see that association very much. An example of this is what we're talking about with the marshmallows. It's self-gratification. So many people are like, I'm going out tonight, I'm having some birthday, I'm having some cake, it's only one chocolate, it's only one this. But every little thing you take is getting you further and further away from your goal, if your goal is to lose weight or to be healthier. Now, you could have an entirely different set of goals, and that's fine. But if usually people who are tuning in here are thinking about their food, are thinking about getting further down that path of fitness. And it's very easy to say, oh, it's just one sweet, it's just one biscuit. But time and time again, all the inches matter. They all add up. Can you really resist that biscuit to have that better body? Can you resist that night out? Say you're going out 2 nights a week. Maybe you only need to go out one. That could make a dramatic difference in getting to your goal. Now, it might sound like I'm being dry, but you can choose. If you want to live like Caligula and you want to have party and drink all the time, that's great, but don't expect to look like an Adonis. You need to pick the trade-offs you're willing to make. There's no point complaining about the result you didn't get for the sacrifices you didn't make. And again, that sounds harsh, but at the end of the day, I believe strongly in ownership and responsibility. If you are unhappy with a situation you are in, you have done something, no matter how minor, and maybe it's just thinking something better of somebody. You have done something to end up in that situation. Don't necessarily take that as a negative. When you understand what you've done, you can change it. And it's the same with your food. If you're unhappy with your shape, you're probably eating too much. Usually, I've not found an instance yet where someone was not eating too much for their lifestyle and their fitness and was unhappy with their shape. I'm sure there's somebody out there, but cellularly, it doesn't usually add up. You're probably eating too much. It's a case of knowing where. You're probably making choices. You're probably taking that cup of tea that someone offers you every time, having that piece of cake that someone offers you every time, without thinking of your own goal, your own path that you are following. And it seems like a small thing every time, but it's not. It's all the little bits. And it's the same thing whenever you see an athlete, whenever you see someone who's good at a sport, like, I guarantee you there was 10 people around him complaining that, oh, he never goes out, he just rides that bike, he just runs in the evenings. And all of a sudden, when the guy is much better years down the road, people are like, oh, how did that happen? And it's well, he prioritized certain things. He picks some things over others. And that's what you have to do. You can't do everything and be able to get everything you want. You can maybe do one thing and get there. And you might not even be able to do that. You might want to be world champion judoka. And, you know, that could be a very difficult road. You have to consider there's people out there that started at 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds doing judo. And if you start judo at 15 or 20, guess what? Everyone's got a 12-year head start on you. You can try to accommodate for other things. There's other sports that might be less technical than others, like cycling might be an example. We all know Lance Armstrong got into cycling quite late, and I will say this, even though it might be a controversial opinion, Lance Armstrong was a good cyclist. He never got caught doing drugs. He admitted to doing drugs, and there's a lot of other cyclists in that era which were similarly doping. The reality is, he had to be good. He came back from cancer, for Christ's sake. So that might be a divisive opinion, but that's the way I feel about it. He was a damn good athlete. And he was also noted to be not particularly good in coordination, which is why he picked cycling. He went to his strengths. He was able to pick something that he could suffer hard at and harder than anyone else, and that was why he picked cycling. He knew he wasn't going to be a world-class footballer, and that's fine. That's the choice he made. So have a think about, are you doing something to get where you want to go? And more importantly, do you know what you want? If it is as simple as, I want a more toned tummy, well, usually you can tackle this with a bit of food and a bit of exercise. If it's something a bit more existential, well, firstly, you need to define what you want before you can understand how you're going to get there. And once you know what you want, you can start to work backwards. But do keep in mind, you have to make choices. You can't expect to be eating the wrong things all the time and saying to yourself, sure, it's only one cake. Sure, it's only one Kit Kat. Sure, it's only a bit of popcorn. Sure, it's only this weekend. All those weekends, all those days, all those snacks, all those meals, they all add up and they all pull you farther away from where you want to go. Now, if you're not that inclined to go that deep, that's fine. But again, don't complain about the results you don't get for the sacrifices you don't make. Okay? So try to keep it short, but hopefully poignant, and you never know, it might reach someone, or someone else might say, what does that guy know? What does he care? Well, I've been in a couple of different places. I've been heavy, I've been thin, I've been ripped, I've been all places in between, and right now I consider myself fat. But look, I try not to complain about it because I know I am the way I am right now because of the choices and the priorities I have placed on things. It's me. Okay? So take care, guys. We'll talk again next week.